Hey guys, what's up? Adam back with RV Returns again with our first of what we're going to call Blitz Tech videos. This is where basically people are going to send us deck lists in, and then we're going to try to help them improve their deck lists, maybe make them better, try to make them more competitive. So our first list comes from one of the guys that follows us on Twitter. His name is Tyler, and he wants us to kind of make improvements to his Fire, Lightning, like Vaughn, Hasty list. So today I'm joined by Chris. We're going to try to show him a couple builds that might make his deck better. Maybe think about different directions he can take it. Say hi to
I
everybody.
Oh, hey guys, how you doing? I like we're doing hasty things. You know me, I love hasty things.
Yeah. So I guess first we'll take a look at like his initial list. We'll go forwards, then summons, then backups, and then we'll show him a build that Chris made, and then we'll show him a build that I made, and try to keep some of his themes that he's going still like in both of our decks. So he has like different ways to branch out. So first, his forwards are so he's got one of the Opus One Cloud, which is the two drop. One Opus 4 Ramza, which is the one that gives haste and plus 1,000 power. One or two Regalia, three two drop Tifa, two three drop Cloud, Opus 3, two Opus 4 three drop Cloud, three Opus 1 Onion Knights, three Alcid, two Amon, two starter Tifas, two Zonde, one legendary Tifa, and three legendary Light Vaughns. So, what do you think about his forwards?
I see what he's trying to do. I do feel like he's a little all over the place. He's got a lot of hasty guys, a lot of small guys. I see he's using, obviously Al Cid to remove a threat. He's using Amon to also remove a threat. The Opus 4 Light Cloud for some ping. He's on to something, but it just needs to be streamlined a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think he's a little bit all over the place. Like it's almost like he wants to have a seven deck, but he wants to be hasting things out. But he also wants to like jam in like Alcid and stuff. I mean, there's a lot going on that like is good here, but I think he kind of needs to refine almost one way or the other. And I think that's what we're gonna try to do with our list coming up.
I agree with that 100%.
Okay, so yeah, so to the summons, he's just got three Belias, three Odin. Not too much to say. So what do you think about those choices?
Yeah, I think three Odins is fine. He's running Lightning. There's no reason not to. I mean, really, you could run any deck and jam three 7-drop Odins in there and not feel bad about it. And obviously I'm a huge fan of Belias, so yeah, seems okay.
Yeah, I think his summon package seems okay. I think there are a couple things, at least in my list, that I changed that made me go different directions in summons. But I think some drop Ode's never bad if you're running lightning. It makes people scared to swing at you. And
Mhm.
Belias is probably the best fire summon, like for cost and what it does. So next
Yeah,
we have the backups. So he's got two Cosmos, one Esther Soldier, three Lightning Red Mage Opus ones, three Fire Red Mage Opus ones, three Opus two Sages Fire, three Opus five Scholar Lightning, and two Zonga.
a lot we can do here. He's running two colors. Cosmos is absolutely unnecessary here. I think the Star Soldier. I see what he's trying to do there. He's clearly dull somebody, get them out of the way. But he'll be doing enough of that with things like Red Mage, things like Vaughn, which is clearly the backbone of the deck. But I don't want to get too much into tech, but we can definitely clean that up a lot.
Yeah, I think one thing to note, and I kept the Cosmos in the list that I made just because he wanted to run Light Vaughn and Light Cloud, and otherwise he's stuck. Like he can't play them both. And I think that's the main reason why Cosmo stayed in my list, just because if he wants to keep the 7 theme, I feel like 3 drop Cloud is really good just to be able to play for 7k. And you don't want
Sure.
to limit yourself to not play Vaughn, if you play the Cloud. But that's really it. Like, yeah, I mean, if you're only playing one of those, I think you definitely get rid of the Cosmos 100% because you're only running 2 colors. You don't really need it. Yeah, so let's jump into your list. So we'll go with the forwards first. So we have three Alua, three Onion Knight, three Vivi, three Alcid, two Amon, two Furion, two Starter Gilgamesh, three Sabin, two Vaughn, and two Vermilion Birdless Seas. So why did you make some
Um,
of those changes?
excuse me. So I feel like if you're running Lightning, season of Alua, there's no reason on God's green earth that if you're playing Lightning to not be running that card. So you can drop her with Al Cid. She's an early threat. She is really hard to get rid of, and her S ability can be a blowout, especially after you've swung out on a turn. You can you know they think they've got you in the bag. You just S ability and you ready all your guys, and then they're staring down the barrel of a full board. Um, Onion Knight, obvious, which I'm just going to go ahead and skip over to Al Cid. Those are self-explanatory. Vivi's in there because Vivi's just probably one of the best pieces of removal in the game, and he's a great chump blocker. Amon, he sticks to the theme of getting somebody out of the way. He's a very control-y card. Huge fan of Firion here because sometimes that ping is what you need to get over the top. Plus, he's an on-curve 4-mana 8K body. Gilgamesh is great in the water matchup because once he's on the board, he's really hard to get rid of, and plus he pumps himself. Sabin is Sabin. If you're going aggressive, there's not a better card in the game to be aggressive with. 2 Vaughns, I think 3 is overkill, and in a deck where he is focusing on Vaughn, I think 2 is the magic number, especially when you can search him out with Gramis. And Vermilion Bird Lassie, good old Birdman as we love calling him. If you're running a hasty deck and fire's involved, there's no reason not to have this guy because A, he's early game pressure, and B, if your opponent's at 5 or 6 damage, they have to block him, or he's just going to win you the game. But then it's that catch-22 where if they block him, you're still going to win the game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean he makes a lot of sense. He's essentially unblockable early game. So with that, we'll go to the summons that you picked. So you have 3 Belias, 2 Exodus, and 3 Odin. So not too much different than what he had. So you want to?
This is a good card. Yeah, Belias and Odin. I think it was a great summon package. I think Exodus is good, especially if sometimes with aggro, you run into early. You run into early walls. Like sometimes you'll run into EX bursts off the top. Sometimes you'll run into a wide board. Like they've gone wide on you. They've taken care of your stuff. You can just boom Exodus, call the number that makes up the majority of their board, and you're back to an even state.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll go into your backups. So you got 3 Ninja, 3 Opus 1 Lightning Red Mage, 2 Opus 1 Fire Red Mage, 3 Opus 2 Sage, 3 Opus 5 Scholar Lightning, 2 Gramis, and 1 Irvine.
So I'll work my way from the bottom. Obviously, all these backups are 2 cost or 3 cost because if you're playing a hasty deck, you're really probably going to just max out at 3, maybe 4 backups. Irvine is good because you can use him in conjunction with Firion, with Vivi, with combat damage. I'm a big fan of him as a one-of, and plus he can get rid of some of those smaller, like little drops. Like perfect example here is Adele. You can use a card. Like one of the things I'm looking at here is doing that. Like if you have a Lua, if you're staring down an Lua, you can break a ninja, waste it on that, and then drop Irvine and then kill her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Gramis to search out Vaughn, Alcid. Scholar's good because again, it's more of that ping that I'm talking about. In this deck, you just want to do those little increments. Is there for haste, for those turn 1 pressures where you drop Sabin, you maybe drop maybe you drop a Gilgamesh and you want to get the pressure on early. Same thing with the Lightning Red Mage where it can give somebody haste. The backup suite allows you to tailor how you want to play. Like you can go aggressive with Sage, or you can start building backups with Red Mage. Same thing with the Fire Red Mage, and he just again goes back to the theme of getting blockers out of the way. So Ninja does the exact same thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this is a pretty good way to go more toward the hasty stuff. Another thing, just to comment on Scholar. Because you're playing, if you play a Lua with Alcid and you're only doing the 6K, Scholar lets you get to that 9K mark, which is kind of nice, and it's just for a break. And then, everything else is kind of self-explanatory. I think the Irvine is a bit interesting for sure. Maybe help you finish off stuff that Vivi couldn't quite get to, or Firion, stuff like that. For sure, yeah.
From my own personal experience, I think Irvine's a great card that I think sometimes gets lost in the shuffle because it's an immediate payoff when you drop him, and plus he gives you some backups. Like maybe you play Irvine and now you have a free fire mana you can tap for Birdman when you drop him. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So let's go into my list. So I try to keep more of the 7 theme. I mean, it's not like full 7, but still keep kind of like the haste with Vaughn.
Sure.
and then just keep like good cards going. So my list is still the one of the 2-drop Ramza, just because tap for haste, tap for 1,000 power seems pretty good. Two Regalia because I mean just having the extra option other than Onion Knight to finish stuff off. Because you could just drop Alua by herself and you don't care. So sometimes like Alua doesn't feel as good off Alcid, but I mean it's still Alua. She's probably one of the best cards in the game. One
That.
yeah, one of the haste 2-drop Tifas. Just a cheap haster. Sometimes you can play her turn 1 and maybe get a couple points of damage in. Two of the Opus 4 Cloud, the Light Cloud. EX Burst for 7k as long as you control a 7 character. And I have a fair amount of Tifas in here. It's pretty much just the Tifas in the Cloud. I thought about maybe adding in the Rosso, just as a good, solid 7 character, but the only issue is with Rosso in this deck is Rosso's not very fast, Rosso's more slow. So it might be kind of counterintuitive, but it is something to think about. 3 Alua, because again, yeah, I mean, basically what you said. If you're playing Lightning right now, I don't know why you wouldn't run 3 of this card. It does everything you want to do. And then some. It's a really stupid card. So do yourself a favor and play 3 of them if you're playing Lightning. 3 Onion Knight, because still Onion Knight is basically Alcid's best friend. I mean, it's an 11k burst. Not much is going to survive that. Enough said. Another personal favorite of mine is the 3-drop Ranger from Opus 4. And I actually have a summon that combos pretty well with him here, and I'll get to that in a second. But basically, whenever this guy has haste, whenever he swings, he does 2k to everything on your opponent's side of the board. So, maybe not as good against like Dodaluma or something, but it can be relevant, and that ping can be relevant, especially when you stack with like a VV that maybe didn't quite kill, or an Alcid that didn't quite kill because you dropped a Lua off it or something like that, or you use your backups and you need a little bit extra damage. It can come in handy. 2 of the starter Tifa, just because it's the best Tifa, I think, like for cost printed, and has a decent special. 1 legendary Tifa just to close out games. Just her with Vaughn, I don't really see how you lose. Like if you play her and then play Vaughn the turn after, and you're able to haste Vaughn, I'm not really sure. I think they just basically lose at that point, as long as they don't have answers. So then from there, we go to my summons. So I have 2 of the new Ramu. Which is very interesting with like pingy effects because it's like it deals 7k to a damage forward, so it's kind of like an Onion Knight. But with Ranger and things like so you can declare an attack with Ranger, and for 1 extra lightning mana, now your Ranger does 9k damage, which is gonna kill basically everything. So I run 2 of those, 3 of the Belias just because drawing a card, giving something haste, and giving something first strike is really good for 2 mana. I still kept 2 of the Odins in, although I think maybe I cut it down just because I don't know how great it is here. I'm only playing it for the EX Burst and the scare, just to make people scared to attack me. And then 2 Phoenix, just because of the sheer amount of 3-drops I have. I feel like Phoenixing back into Lua just sounds really stupid.
Phoenix definitely works very well in your build for sure, and especially when Alua is just stupid with any card.
Yeah, so your targets here basically are Alua, VV, are your number 1, number 2. VV just will kill 2 things, basically. Alua. Cloud, you can come back and kill 2 things with Cloud. Your Ranger can get you another guy back to swing with next turn. And then the nice thing about playing Phoenix with Alua is if you have an Alua in your hand, you can special to ready the thing that you Phoenix and give everything haste. And just get some really nutty plays in there, which just is stupid. But, I mean, that's more so Alua than Phoenix, be honest, but I feel like it combos very well, and I feel like her and Fire Lightning is just as dumb as her in every other deck, so it's pretty good. And then for the backups, I kept the 2 of Cosmos just because we're running Light Cloud and Light Vaughn, and we don't want to be stuck with one or other on the board, because if you play Light Cloud early and he just kind of sits out there and you don't have Cosmos, then you can't play Light Vaughn, which sucks. So I kept the Cosmos in. I added in the 2 ninjas from Opus 5 just because it's just such a good backup. It's like it might not be as good as Red Mage, but at the same time, sometimes it's better because it's just a tap break. You don't have to worry about paying that 2 mana, and sometimes it gets out of the way for some other backups that you want to play. It's obviously 100%. Yeah, obviously both of the Opus 1 Red Mages, the Lightning and the Fire, 3 of each of those. 3 of the new Scholar, just because of how well it does with Alcid, how well it does with Ramu. You can combo with just raw Onion Knight. Ranger, 2 Gromus, just because Vaughn is a 12 character and Alcid's a 12 character, so it just makes sense to run 2 here, and I think you had 2 in there as well. and then 2 Zangan just because of the sheer amount of Tifas that we run. So we're able to search out the legendary, search out the 4 drop, and then it gives our 4 drop haste, which is nice. So I mean that's my build, more toward a 7 kind of build.
Just looking at the two builds, it does just kind of give a testament to the flexibility that this color combination has. You can play yours is definitely it comes across as a little more mid-rangey, which sometimes is the better way to play it because your early pressure is so. Alua is such great early pressure because she's so hard to deal with. Into a nice mid-rangey game with your Al Cids and your 7 package, which is, I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah, I think both these builds are good for different reasons, and maybe kind of instead of kind of trying to be everything at once, push it in one of these two directions. Like Chris said, like I think mine's more tempo-y, like gonna can play a little bit better, like mid-rangey, and then his is a bit more faster. Like I'm gonna get in your face early and try to finish you off before you can realize what happened. So I think both are good for different reasons. I think 100% you need to add Grombus in your deck. I think that's one of the glaring omissions I think I saw. Um, can you think of anything else that I missed?
I don't think Alua was in the original build.
Oh yeah, that's another glaring omission. I think is like if you don't quite like these two builds like completely, I think at least you jam 3 Aluas in and 1 or 2 Gromuses, probably 2 since you run Alcid and Vaughn. This makes
And
sense.
if anything else, and this is just because I still think he's the best fire card ever printed. I think if you're running fire in any deck, Saban is just 100% necessary.
Yeah, so the reason I didn't have Saban in mind is just it was hard to find room. And like to try to keep the 7 stuff and put Saban in. Like I feel like if I'm putting Saban in, I'm probably getting rid of some Tifas or something. And at that point, I'm gonna cut the Cosmos and the Cloud altogether.
I
Um,
know we've talked about that before, where the 4 drop space in fire is very crowded.
yeah, it's definitely tough. Just one more thing before we wrap up. That there's another direction I think you could go, which is like the Red Mage backup line, which wouldn't be bad in this kind of deck. I think you still run the Ramus, and you might end up just scrapping the 7 theme altogether, and then just putting more of like Chris's forwards were in there. And then you run like the new red mage, and then the other red mage that deals 8k, and your backup line is like full of red mages, and basically Gromus and Scholar probably your only other two at that
Mhm.
point. That could be a thing you could go with. But I think both these builds are pretty good. And I think with that, I guess we'll sign off for now for our first Blitz deck. So if you have any ideas, any decks that you want us to analyze, maybe do a video on, yeah, just send me a link on Twitter at Kronos411 or send a link to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/RVReturners. And we'll try to get around to your deck and do a video on it and maybe tell us some things that we like. And you may not necessarily agree with us, but we'll at least try to help you and see how it goes.
Absolutely, and I know once they release the top 4 from the Boston Petite Cup, I know we're going to look at analyzing those as well. Um, Now's a good time. There's so many great decks to play and options at your fingertips. And if anybody has anything, like Adam just said, shoot us a line. We'll definitely break it down and see what we can do to make it better, or just analyze the choices that you made. Maybe there's a line in that deck you built that you don't see, but we can help you find it.
Yeah, so with that, I guess we'll sign off for now. See you next time. Talk to you later.